we're the Boychilds.
In our last show, the Funky Werepig was introduced to a very cool dude named Diego Mongue. He's our age and already a kick-ass filmmaker, songwriter, musician.
He can play the electric kazoo.
The electric kazoo. Well, anyways, our dad was so impressed that he's releasing this extended interview. Diego has no idea the horror he's about to face.
That's where we come in.
We've got your back, buddy. Things become a little too boomer infected, just look our way. But remember, most of all, if you hear the Funky Werepig utter the phrase, too busy thinking to be thinking, get the hell out of there.
Run!
Oh, there's going to be a flood of genius ideas and old comedy stories coming your way. And a lot of awkward nodding on your side of the table.
Okay, best of luck to you.
Too busy thinking to be thinking.
We do have to talk about some of your songs. I wrote some stuff here because there's no way an old guy like me is going to remember this. Here's some of the songs that I've heard from you. Dr. Space Junk's Funk Probe, Dirty Smelly Clown, and then The Booty. The Booty, I think I understand The Booty. The others, I'm lost.
Yeah, Dr. Space Junk's Funk Probe was I was just trying to think of like what encapsulates that song, because it's a 9-minute fusion tune, and it's like,
yeah,
how do you name something like that where you're going from this like 14/8 groove to like a Latin kind of craziness, and then switching to crazy hits and big runs and stuff like that, and extended solo sections and stuff like that, and all the way back around to it. It's like, what encapsulates that? And I'm like, well, it's funky, and like, it's spacey. So Dr. Space Junk's Funk Probe. Yes. I thought it worked. And I dig it.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah,
to listen to.
it's fun. It's fun. It was a great thing to record. And that was one of the first major things that I recorded seriously, because it was I always intended to put it out. And I put it out Thanksgiving of 2021. No, 2020. Thanksgiving of 2020. Dirty Smelly Clown is definitely an interesting one, and it's you can definitely see my Zappa influence in there. I've been listening to Frank Zappa since an infant. My dad used to sing Sofa number 2 off of One Size Fits All to me, because he didn't know any lullabies. So as an infant, what am I singing? Is it da 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 da? It's not no Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Yeah, no, it's Frank Zappa.
That's good parenting. Let that be a lesson,
right?
To everyone watching. How did you fail as a parent? Yeah. Did your 2-year-old know about Frank Zappa? No, they did not. You have failed. You play the drums.
I do play the drums. I am also a bass player, a guitarist, and a slide player. So like lap steel and just cigar box guitar.
And the Post-it notes my Boychilds hand me also said the xylophone.
Oh, I do a bit of that. I'm in the marimba band at my school. So that's fun. Been taking classes for that. I also had to learn a bit of it for college auditions, because as a percussionist, they really want you to be able to play like everything. That's like,
oh, and they call that a mallet.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was thinking more sledgehammer kind of thing.
No, not like a sledgehammer mallet. But yeah, they call those mallets with the little, just kind of little ball on the end of the stick, and you play it like
Still,
that.
that'd be kind of cool. You know how guitar players will throw a pick out to the audience? You can just whip a mallet out in the audience after your solo.
Right.
I think that'd be cool. You should.
I feel like it'd be cool for me. I feel like as an audience member, just getting hit with a mallet would be kind of frightening.
No, those people are crazy.
Exactly.
They're coming out. They're coming out for a good time. That's part of the definition of a good time.
And at a certain point, like, they'll expect it. If it's like a signature thing I do, people will come with their like mallet shields. And then, Awesome Robot started out as like notes in my lunchbox from my dad. And they were just like notes of encouragement and stuff like that. Do well in school, eat your food, eat your vegetables, stuff like that. But then they got silly really quickly, like don't eat cake out of the trash and stuff like that. And then just to like ridiculous, just ridiculous stuff. But through this, there was a character that kept reoccurring, and that was Dennis the Robot. And so then we just kind of compiled some of the notes, the drawings that were made for me, and then we were like, oh, we can kind of make a story out of this. And then we just kind of when it was starting out, it was very much like, and actually up through I think that it's a comic book series of 6, I believe.
So like a 6-issue limited series kind of.
Yeah, and we're still kind of slowly, because it kind of dropped off as music kind of became the driving force in my life, and it's hard. It's too hard to balance everything. But we're slowly kind of working towards an end. It's supposed to be like a 10 chapter story.
Okay.
But it was very much like I come up with kind of a story and idea, and then my brother got involved in that too as we got further on. But it started out as very much like I come up with a story, I pitch it to my dad, and we work it, and then my dad illustrates it, and then we send it off. And we were picked up by a publisher for our first book. We did a couple runs of these like really kind of janky duct tape bound home copies, and then we were fortunate enough to find a publisher that picked us up, and we re-released our first book, and then they did the second, third, fourth, and then we did a compilation book called the Ketchup Book, because it catches you up at the but
okay.
it's also in homage of my favorite vegetable, ketchup.
Ketchup.
Yes.
It counts. It counts.
It counts, right? I started thinking, if like, I think tomatoes are technically a fruit. So in that sense, does that make ketchup a smoothie?
Oh, that's a good one.
That's things I often ponder. I'm like,
No, hippies versus squirrel men. I would guess a lot of people immediately would go, that sounds like a documentary, but no, it's a fun action fantasy.
There's elements of horror in there as well.
Horror.
It's
I was going to
like,
say it's well, you have squirrel men.
Yeah,
that's
like
not something.
Squirrels can be violent.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. And they're from a whole nother dimension, right?
Yes, the mystic land of Boone Glorgius.
Duh.
Yeah.
It's that stuff comes from a mind that says by a second movie, I just don't want to repeat myself.
Yeah. No, that's what it was. Anytime I come up with an idea, and I think a lot of artists in any field of any sort of art deal with this, come up with an idea, and it's like you wind up stumbling across it, or someone else tells you, it's like, oh, that's like exactly what such and such did, and then you're like, oh, come on. I do that a lot in blues, just because of the kind of blues music, where it's like, I'll be writing a blues, and it's like, oh, this is like really close to something like Muddy did, and it's like, but in film, I think it's actually really hard to come up. I feel like so many ideas in film are already done, so I really wanted to come up with just a completely original idea, something that nobody has ever done, and I feel like Hippies versus Squirrelman does that quite well. I am very much fine with the way I run things. If I would like more help, it's always nice, a nice fat crew of people. And I'm like, I do like writing, directing, and acting in it. Like, if I could just do those, it'd be awesome, not to have to deal with any sort of production thing. Actually, I love doing special effects. So I guess in a way I love doing a lot of it, but because I love practical effects and just like seeing stuff like Dawn of the Dead and seeing Tom Savini, all that crazy stuff. And actually, I have a book that my dad gave me about how Tom did all those effects, and then just doing research through all those films. And you look at like Herschel Gordon Lewis films, and you see all the like the insane over the top gore effects that are there, and you're like, wait. And at a certain point, you kind of get an eye like for how they do it, almost like in music where you can hear something and then you can just kind of jump right in and play it immediately. You kind of get that with visual effects, how they do that. But I definitely, the way I like doing things are practical. I like doing practical effects. If we have anything digital, it's like that's for the editor. That's for the editor. That's not me. But in Ground Chuck, there's a great scene where I have someone get torn open and or like gutted and eat just like ripped apart and stuff like that. And I think at one point we rip out someone's spine. But it's like I was just like to do that, and I was pretty happy with the final product. I wish it was darker. I wish the blood was redder. But unfortunately, on the second day of filming, a cast member knocked over a bucket of 5 gallons of the blood I had made for the movie. So that was awful.
Did they offer you their blood to replace it?
They did not, and I was a little offended by that.
That's a compassionate director. I would have gone a different way, but
Right.
you have compassion. That's good. That works too.
I'm like, things still need to be done. It's like we're on a schedule. We got to keep going. We'll figure it out.
Didn't you shoot? Was it Hippies versus Squirrelmen? Did I hear this correct? You shot it in 15 days, something like that. 2 weeks.
Yeah, Hippies versus Scrollman was shot in 15 days. Ground Chuck was shot in 6.
So you got a feature. You got a
Yeah.
feature done in a week, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I have heard, haven't seen it, but I have heard at one time, because of budget constraints, one of the big payoffs of one of your action movies, martial arts movie, was you had to fight an entire army, and to meet the constraints of your budget, they were all invisible.
Yes. I had a movie. This is one of the first movies I made. Was called X-Force, and specifically X-Force 1, The Invisible Army. And it was, it was no budget, not enough people to actually have an army. So I was like, you know what? They're going to be invisible, and that's okay. Because that makes things so much more dangerous because you can't even see them. And I just remember shooting one scene where I was up on a balcony with the camera and just telling all my people to run out there and get beat up by the air. And it was just like, so I'm like, I gotta watch that again because I haven't seen it in a minute. But like 6 or 8 people just run out into a field and all just and I was just like, this is so funny. I think back on it now and I'm like, but back then I was like, this is like cinematic genius. Like, this is brilliant. And now I'm just like, this is ridiculous. This is so funny.
No, it's genius. Keep it with genius. Because you know who does that same thing and doesn't have your imagination? George Lucas. George Lucas makes his guys do the same damn thing with a tennis ball just hanging there. He damn near ended Liam Neeson's career. They have to stand there and act against nothing, and then he comes back for 5 years and puts in all kinds of other things that they're actually fighting. You being the trendsetter you are, said, what if it is just nothing?
Exactly. Right.
That.
Just thinking.
Yeah, that's somebody who's too busy thinking to be thinking. I don't have time.
Tag out.
The blackest eyes, the devilest eyes.
Whew, that was close.
I shot him 7 times.